Haley, we are live.
Okay, I'd like to reconvene to open. And we had a special board meeting this evening at 5 o'clock. Nothing to report out of closed. There was only a closed session item, so may I have a motion to adjourn for the
So
special
moved.
meeting?
So
Mary,
moved, yeah.
and a second?
I'll second.
Scott, all in favor?
Yes.
Aye.
Yes, seeing no objection, the special meeting closed session is adjourned at 6:05. And we will move on to the regular meeting of June 23rd, and there is nothing to report out at closed session. And may I have a motion to approve the agenda?
I move we approve the agenda for the regular meeting.
And a second?
I'll second.
Kathy, thank you. And all in favor?
Yes.
Okay. Seeing no objection, so moved. And do we have any public comment on non-agenda items?
We have no public comment on non-agenda items.
Okay. And we do have a few folks in the audience, public, and we might have some on virtual, so I will at this time remind folks if they do come in. Individuals may address the board on agenda items on both closed session and regular session during regular session agenda during public comment and/or at the time they are under consideration by completing the speaker form provided on the table at the entrance and submitting it to normally our administrative assistant. She's not here today, but anyone at the front. Public comments are limited to 3 minutes per individual. Speakers will be chosen in random order. Each person may only speak once per agenda topic and is required to address the board from the podium. Public comment cannot be acted upon or discussed by the board unless placed on an agenda at a subsequent meeting in accordance with the Brown Act. The board may request staff to respond orally at the meeting or in writing at a future time. A total of 20 minutes public comment per topic will be allowed. And if you need translation services, please contact Renee at the district office 72 hours in advance by phone or email. And the meeting is videoed and broadcasted on FBUSD YouTube channel. And we also have virtual public participation. So members that are watching right now can address the board during the board meeting, and they can submit their public comment by emailing boardmeeting@fbusd.us, and staff will make all attempts to share and record any submissions prior to or during the board meeting. And however, depending on late timing, late submissions will be provided to the board after the conclusion of the meeting. And so I won't continually ask if we have public comment on an item because Becky's always
monitoring it.
watching, and she'll get chimed that someone wants to make a public comment, and then we'll stop, and then I'll read a disclosure if we do have anything further on in the agenda. But that takes us to the next item on the agenda, which is patriotic exercise by Trustee Schneider.
All right, thank you. So in celebration of July 4th and also a little bit of Juneteenth, I just have some kind of fun facts about our nation's independence. It was actually on July 2nd in 1776 that the Second Continental Congress voted for independence. The document was dated and approved on July 4th and was not signed until a month later on August 2nd, 1776. First fireworks were on July 4th, 1777, both in Philadelphia and Boston. The new One World Trade Center in New York City was designed to pay tribute to American independence. It is exactly 1,776 feet tall. Star Spangled Banner became the national anthem 117 years after it was written. So it was written in 1812, of course, by Francis Scott Key, but did not become the national anthem until 1931. July 4th was not a federal holiday until 1870. So Frederick Douglass challenged the idea of Independence Day. So on July 5th, 1852, Frederick Douglass deemed Independence Day a day that reveals to him more than all other days in the year the gross injustice and cruelty to which he is the constant victim. And that goes along with Juneteenth. And just give me a second here. Many people tend to discuss America's freedom when they discuss the 4th of July. It's commonly referred to as Independence Day, after all. But that discussion frequently fails to acknowledge that not everyone in America was free as of that date. Enslaved black people in America were not granted their freedom until June 19th, 1865, following the Civil War. This date is, of course, celebrated as Juneteenth. The Emancipation Proclamation, which occurred in 1862, is worth noting that it only it freed enslaved people on paper. In actuality, it took several more years for all black people in America to be free from slavery. The oldest July 4th parade is celebrated in Rhode Island. It's been going since 1785. And there's lots more, but I think that's good.
Great, thank you so much. So we have acknowledgements. Superintendent Walker?
Yes. We would like to thank Cooper Plumbing for their $100 donation to the FBMS band program. And also acknowledging Independence Day, July 4th, our public schools will be closed. All FBUSD campuses and offices will be closed on that day. We will resume on July 5th.
Great. And so I just wanted to acknowledge Becky Walker. So this is going to be her last regular meeting. We can't guarantee we won't see you at a special. So I want to say this is just, there's just no way around it. This is the last regular meeting, and I just want to acknowledge your 25 years in our district. And I just wrote down like highlights. Just your loyalty, integrity, your consistency, your work ethic is just over the top. I've worked, my adult life, and yours is on the top of grit. Just focus, laser focus, and also just to acknowledge that this district was in a moral low when you came in 6 years ago as superintendent, and I have to say, you moved us out of that, and I don't think people realize where we were when you started here at this district. And just to name a few other things that were a highlight, you always had a proactive look ahead to know that we weren't really ready, as Fort Braggers weren't ready to go one-to-one, or we weren't ready to go paperless for registration. You always pushed us and had that view or that lens to see us forward, and you always saved us to whatever, like the power went out, but we were ready to do this, or your communication was always timely, or you tried to make sure that we landed softer with your communication, kept us safe, during the pandemic. And I just can't thank you enough for leaving the district in better shape than when you came 6 years ago. Feels like 9, because the pandemic adds a few years. And you also, we as a board wanted to present you with this certificate of recognition with deepest appreciation for the care and devotion given to the FBUSD community, teacher, administrator, and superintendent, because you were all of those. And we're blessed to have you. And I think Lake County, Kelseyville, they're going to be so blessed, and they don't realize how lucky they are to have you in their community. And I want to end by sharing the lovely note that was in the high school yearbook, and it touches on the history Becky had with our district. So if I just take a moment, it's a minute and a half. So I'm going to try to keep it 3 minutes. Let me take my glasses off so I can read this, because it's small writing. So, dear FBHS students and the community of Fort Bragg, I have had the unbelievable honor of serving our community for the last 25 years. I entered FBUSD at the young age of 24 as a 6th grade science teacher at Fort Bragg Middle School. In 1997, I left my job as a math teacher in Fortuna to move to Fort Bragg to marry my husband, who was hired as a peace officer with the Fort Bragg Police Department. Little did I know all those years ago that my life would take this incredible journey through our school district. When I was transferred to Fort Bragg High School in 2004, I was not enthusiastic about the move. I wanted to remain at the middle school. I loved it there, but I came to Fort Bragg High with a positive outlook, hoping to find the joy I had with my middle school students. Now, as I prepare to leave Fort Bragg to begin a new chapter in my life, I can honestly say that my time at FBHS as a Fort Bragg High School teacher, assistant principal, and principal will always be remembered as some of the happiest years of my career. While serving as the superintendent for our school district has been rewarding, the student and staff collegiality at FBHS will never be matched. Thank you for FBUSD for helping me raise my children. Thank you for having such a positive impact on my early adult years. Thank you for teaching me the true meaning of community. Fort Bragg has made a permanent mark on my soul, and I will never forget or replace the many friends I have made throughout the years. Go Timberwolves, forever purple, Becky Walker. And that just shows your grace and your professionalism, and we were going to miss you. So I'd like to present this from the board to you. Nope, no tears. So thank you, everyone, and I just wanted to share that piece of, because not everyone gets the yearbook, so thank you so much. And we will move on to communications on the agenda, so I don't know if,
Can I do one
Yes.
acknowledgement? First off,
yes,
thank you.
yes.
But it came to our attention last week that a very behind-the-scenes valued member of this team is not going to be with us moving forward in the future. So Nate Alexander has been filming our board meetings, and this is his last solo performance. He is going to try and help us train someone new in the next few meetings, but this is his official last meeting by himself. And so I just would like to acknowledge Nate. Nate, we do have a little something for you from the board. You're always behind the scenes. I don't know if you want to come in front of the camera and wave to everybody. But because it happened so last minute, I'm going to give it to you at the end of the meeting after we all have a chance to sign it. But I would like to acknowledge Nate. So Nate, I don't know if you can come out and just like show your face really quickly, because that would be lovely.
He's like, you're gonna make me do this.
Well,
So
He's-
I'm gonna, let's see, if you could just. This is Nate Alexander, and he has been taking care of all of our board meetings. He has been just a phenomenal human being. If you've ever been able to come into room 306 during a board meeting, you would see all of his accoutrements that make him so lovely. So just, if we could just thank Nate. When I met Nate, he was like this tall.
yes, thank you so much.
Thank you,
He
Nate.
does make magic, and the meetings, I have to say, I've watched a fair amount of virtual meetings, and I'm thoroughly impressed with, we have had very little technical difficulty. So I really appreciate all that magic you do back there, and he's just a great human. Thank you. So thank you, Becky, for that. And we'll move on to communications. Does anyone have anything to disclose?
I think we all got the same emails.
Maybe I'll start, and then anyone want to add what they didn't. I wanted to share that we did get a thank you from Kelly Sutton in Redwood for the donuts, bagels, cream cheese, and gum. It was nice to feel your appreciation. That was to the board. And I received, which I will forward right now, I received a follow-up email from Laura Vieira, middle school principal, just to answer some questions from the last meeting last week. There was a middle school bell schedule, and she just wanted to follow up on some of our questions. So I'll forward that to the board members, because I don't think it was to everyone. And then we did receive almost half a dozen letters regarding changing middle school and high school name. And I think that's all I received in communication. So did anyone else receive anything else they need to disclose?
I think I had 11.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had 11.
Oh.
So almost a half a dozen.
That's 6, though.
Well,
Almost a dozen.
almost
Half
Almost a
each.
dozen.
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Sorry.
I was like, wow, I was special.
Yeah,
But-
no, I had 11.
Okay.
I had 11. Sorry.
And I received an email from Mrs. Vieira as well
Okay.
regarding my questions. So I forwarded that to Diana too.
Okay.
So do you want to send them both out, or?
Yes, I will do that right now. And do we have any public comment on agenda items for this evening?
There are no emails for public comment on agenda items.
And anyone in the audience have a public comment on agenda items? And if you don't want to speak now, you can speak at the item on the agenda when we read it further out. Seeing none, we will move on to reports, which we have Joe Erickson here with us this evening, student representative report.
Okay, thank you. I'll keep it brief tonight because there's not much going on at the schools right now. I have a small report from Redwood, just that the school office will be closed from June 27th through August 3rd, and all queries and new enrollment can be directed to the DO during that time. And the Parents Club is organizing a back-to-school ice cream social in August. More information soon. TK and kindergarten and new student orientation meetings are scheduled for August 8th and August 15th. Spanish translation will be provided, and the hope is that all incoming Redwood families will attend one of those meetings, and both will have identical content, so don't go to both. The first day of school is August 17th, and the bell schedule for that school year will be posted on the Redwood website. My other report is from the high school. Ms. Alexander and Mr. Triplett would just like to thank the high school staff for another great year. They're so lucky to be a part of this amazing group of people. And the last day the high school's front office will be open has passed, and it was June 24th. Wait, no, that's tomorrow. Time is broken. They will reopen on August 1st, and they want you to have a great summer break. And lastly, the high school would like to thank Ms. Walker for everything she has done for our district, and they are going to miss you. And I have a little blurb from me. I wanted to say thanks for the wonderful year coming to these board meetings, and I will be back for one more year when I am a senior in the 22-23 year. So thank you.
Good news.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you.
That's excellent, because we always wonder about October, do we have a student rep? So that's very, very nice. You're going to
Ready
take on a
from the
second
start
year.
of the year.
Yeah, very good. And you're welcome to stay for the meeting or exit whenever you need to.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Have a great summer. So 8.2 is the SELPA report for 2021-22 school year, and we have Carolyn Carini, the Director of Special Programs.
All right, I'm just going to talk some celebrations and some challenges. I was looking at our numbers before I came over. We've got about 230 students on an IEP in Fort Bragg Unified. And with projected student enrollment for next year at 1,650, that's going to put our percentage of students on an IEP at 13% approximately. We're continuing to watch that, and I'll speak more to that later, because we are seeing an increase in student behaviors following COVID-19 nationwide. So we're not unique. So celebrations for this year in special education. We return to primarily in-person IEP meetings, IEP being an individualized education plan. So if you're a student with a disability and you can't access your general education curriculum, we test you, and if you qualify, we put you on an IEP. And then we hold meetings every year to report back to the parents. Those are primarily in person now. We did do some remote meetings because we wanted parents to have the option, if they weren't comfortable sitting in a conference room with other people, that we can put them in an environment where they are comfortable. Another celebration, we're not disproportionate with the California Department of Education. So every year, it comes down from the federal government to the state government, they're looking at us. They're asking themselves, are we over-identifying second language learners for an IEP? Or do we have enough students participating in the CASP and achieving on the CASP? How are our graduation rates? They look at all these sub-areas. We're not disproportionate. That's a good thing, because if you go into your third year disproportionate with CDE, then they actually lay claim to a portion of your special education funds and funnel it towards intervention, and then there's a whole bunch of program monitoring and reporting. It becomes really onerous. We are proportionate. We are in compliance monitoring only. We're there along with many other districts across the nation because it's lag data. So the California Department of Education is looking at data from COVID-19 and the closures when parents didn't want to send their kids in for assessment, or because of the protocols we couldn't access the kids. I have to celebrate our special education team. They did a tremendous job getting those IEPs up to date and getting the meetings held. So they finished their assessments and held meetings. We'll report to the California Department of Education in July, and I'm expecting to receive good news that we're going to be coming out of that low-level compliance monitoring. More exciting news, we brought leveled literacy intervention materials into our intervention classrooms. We also brought it into resource. And so if you're a student that has an English language arts goal, we've been using the new curriculum to work with those students and seeing tremendous progress. So just like we've seen growth and progress in our intervention students, we're now seeing it in our students in our resource programs. It's being used K through 8 at this point. Our high schools focus primarily on supporting access to the gen ed curriculum, so they don't tend to replace. We're doing that in other areas and doing it with enormous success. Another celebration, I'm going to read this. The Program for Education and Enrichment of Relational Skills. It's called the PEERS curriculum. So the county office, Michaela Figini-Myers is our behavior specialist with the county office, and Amy Hansen is our program specialist, our former autism teacher, splendid. They walked that out with the teachers to roll out social skills, evidence-based social skills curriculum to students that struggle. So whether it's because you have attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, whether it's autism, whether it's trauma, if you're having trouble making friends and connecting, we now run the kids through this program, and the kids loved it and the staff loved it. So we're looking to grow and expand on that for next year. That was a huge celebration. Here's one of the ones I'm really proud of. This one's going to report back 6 years. In the past 6 years, up to today, we have never had to go to the Office of Administrative Hearing for a due process hearing. Okay? I think this is mainly because our team does such a good job, not only serving their students, but connecting with families and hearing their concerns and responding to them. It's the relationship, because parents that feel heard and feel we're responding don't go file due process complaints with the Office of Administrative Hearings. So that is our staff, our site administrators, our teachers, and our instructional aides, the great work they're doing. We're continuing to work towards making our special education model more of an inclusion model. We already do everything we can to make sure that our kids with disabilities are in classrooms with their typically developing peers as much as possible. We know that from the research, both kids with disabilities and their typically developing peers do better. So to that end, at Redwood, we're rolling out more trainings as we go into the next year for our general education and special education staff, as we move more towards an inclusion model where our special education teachers and paraprofessionals will push into the general education environment and support the kids from there as much as possible. So we're working on that. So right now we do that in the state preschool to phenomenal success. We're expanding that into transitional kindergarten, and then we'll be bringing that up through the grade levels, slowly and methodically, to make sure that we've got the supports in place for the team. And we're continuing to work on making sure that any IEP meetings we're holding are not only legally compliant, but moreover, parent-friendly. So our team is calling parents up to share assessment reports prior to the meeting so that we're not sitting in 2-hour IEP meetings. Challenges. A lot of the challenges we've had came from COVID-19 and the closures. So we've seen an increase in student behaviors, K through 12, but primarily at Redwood, where our little ones would come in and they struggled with the structure of, now we want you to sit on carpet and do the months of the year with us. There was trauma. And so our special education team flexed out hugely. It's another celebration as well as a challenge to support our students and our general education colleagues. And to make sure we had interventions in place, because we don't want to disproportionately identify students with disabilities when it in fact could be poverty or second language learner. We don't want to label them with a disability. So see if I can not hit that thing again. Big challenge. So if you have any friends or know any people that have a 4-year degree and a willing heart, I have 3 open special day class positions, 1 at Redwood, 2 at Dana Gray, working really hard on recruiting people. Any help that anyone, member of the public, can offer. We have a great team and put a lot of supports in place so you don't get thrown in the deep end of the pool. So reach out to me. My name is Carolyn. We're looking for teachers. And that would conclude the special education report. Does anyone have any questions?
Anyone have any questions for Carolyn?
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Thank you, everybody.
Bless you. Okay, so no questions for the SELPA report. We have 8.3, we have superintendent report, which has one item, fall reopening 2022-23.
Basically, this is just to reiterate some dates for families. Our first day of school is August 17th, which is a Wednesday. We are reopening the bus routes to have one stop over by Denny's and John Chimolino Way, and we are opening up another bus stop over on Walnut Street by Safeway. So if you are a family who lives in those general vicinities, they are going to be group bus stops. So we're not going to be going into the individual streets in town, but you can drop your kids off in that area and they can ride the bus into all of our schools. So make sure if you are in one of these places where you need that transportation in the morning, please make sure that during registration, you contact our transportation department so that your kiddo can be signed up for transportation services. So our first day of school is the 17th of August. The high school is having a back to school fair on August 15th. The high school has many things planned for August 15th. We have freshman orientation. We have freshman orientations at 10 a.m. The back to school fair is at 1 p.m. So that's a fun-filled day for Fort Bragg High School. The middle school is having their back-to-school events on Tuesday, August 16th at 11 a.m. Redwood and Dana Gray are looking at dates. We're trying to coordinate those dates with the bilingual family liaisons. So I know Superintendent Aldridge will have a parent square message out to families, and so will the principals when we get those dates solidified. Just a reminder to families that the early release days will not begin until mid-September, so we don't need to worry about that. And then for our kiddos in TK, we'll talk about that a little bit more today, but we've discovered a few little hiccups, so we might have to adjust some of the times. But we'll have something for you in the next couple of special meetings so that we can publicize that out to families and then make sure that the families who are enrolled in TK have a very clear understanding of start and stop times. Other than that, we are super excited for the start of school. Summer school is in full swing. The last day of summer school for regular session is July 14th. And for the extended session for our kiddos taking geometry, those young people, their last day is July 22nd.
Exciting. Be here before we know it. Yay. So 8.4, we have construction project update, and we have the project manager, Don Alameda.
Hi, everybody. Nice to see you guys again.
Let's go outside.
That's the report rather than the PowerPoint, huh? That's okay.
Is this the power? It's not this?
It's similar, it was more abbreviated than this, but no, I
Okay,
can
hold on,
just,
hold on. Let
I
me
can just
get
wing
the,
it. It might be, you know, I looked online, it looked like it was after it.
okay, let's look.
Oop, there we go, yeah, one of
Is
those
this it?
back there. Yeah, I think that might be the, I'm sorry. If you go up, or back, I should say. Okay, that's part of the report. Why don't you go back the other way, sorry. I'll
There's
just
one-
wait.
There's one, can you email me?
Yeah, 'cause
the-
I'm looking for it.
It's okay, we could start right here, I could just wing it.
Okay. Wendy will find it and she'll get it to me.
Okay. Anyway, what this is summary expenditure report, so we've expended about 4.6 million of that phase of the project, of the $10.3 million budget. We're doing really well with the first phase of the project. In fact, the changes that I see coming, we did not have to weatherize the site for the foundation work, so we'll be getting a credit, so, for an allowance that we had for that, so it'd be a pretty good credit. I don't have it on top of my head what it was, but, and then the other things that are coming down the pike that would be a change is, we were originally gonna tap into a sewer up at the front street, that was purported to be 6-inch sewer. It's actually a 4-inch sewer, which we could probably do, but, you know, we've got future work coming too, so we're actually working with the contractor in the city to do a new 6-inch sewer to come off of Chestnut, so that'd be an added expense, but I think it's gonna be a wise move. The allowance will probably offset the cost anyway. And the other change that may be coming down the pike, or will be coming down the pike, is PG&E switched up a little bit where we're getting our power from. We originally had meetings with them about bringing the power off of the pole that's in front of the school. And when they finished their engineering, they came back and they switched it on us. We're going to get the power off the pole that's closer to the DO. So there's about another 150 feet of trenching that we're going to have to do because they chose to change their mind. But a lot of it's going to be offset with the allowances and credits that we're realizing by not having to do a few things. So FRC is a really great contractor to work with. They're on schedule. They're pushing forward. As you can see, we have a foundation now, and under those tarps are actually a slab as well. Yeah, despite, you know, we had the irrigation broke over the weekend, and it was east of the site, and it kind of flooded the site. But
Could've opened a swimming pool.
yeah, we were starting to build a swimming pool. But despite that, we were able to still do the concrete pour. Barry, fortunately, came home over the weekend earlier, and he found the contractor's sump and pumped out the water before it did any damage. It couldn't really do a lot of damage, but it could slow things down by having to muck out stuff, and fortunately, we didn't have to do that. So had a big event this week, having a concrete pour. It was a lot of concrete. And they were going to deliver lumber today, but it didn't show up. It's supposed to show up tomorrow, so you'll start seeing framers out there in short order. Huh?
I can help you with that.
Okay. So, no, exciting times out there. It's really, I've worked with FRC on a number of projects, and they're just a real pleasure to work with, and it's just going along seamlessly. Oh, why don't you slide down, maybe give me a prompt?
I got you.
Okay. All right, if you go to the next slide,
Okay, hold on, let me get you.
It's-
let me-
let's see if I've got okay.
So we did this one, right?
We did this one. Okay. This I just talked about. I said next step's pour building slab. That happened 2 days ago, so we're just moving along swimmingly on that. Okay, next slide. Oh, again, it's hard to read that schedule that's in the report because it's so tiny, but this is where we are with, it's pretty much summed up to 37 steps, and we're on the 12th step of getting the base project done. Although the earlier steps are shorter durations than the others, so we're not halfway done, even though it looks like we're almost halfway through the list. Okay, I'm ready for the next slide. There's photos before the concrete pour. It's got the stem wall and foundation forming, and I think that was before they came out with the base rock. And as you'll see when they pulled the tarps off in a day or two, that we have actually a concrete slab there now. So it's all wood from here on out.
We got to
Almost.
watch it get poured yesterday. Very exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah. In fact, the local concrete company came over and thanked Brandon, the superintendent, on it was a horrendously big pour, and it just went along real smooth, and kind of made comments about it going smoother than the Mendocino concrete pours in the recent. So it was big kudos for us on that one. Let's see, this is phase 2. Last month you approved a budget, and we're just getting started on it. In fact, they didn't record any expenditures, although they have had some. I did this a week and a half or 2 ago. Where we are with this one is QKA is in the design phase now that we have a budget established. They came out and met with some staff and teachers, or the staff, for the admin portion of the Redwood Elementary School. That's part of the scope of the project. So we're just getting started on that. So
It was a good conversation. It was Jim Teese and Kevin Chapin meeting with Lundy and her front office team and Barry, and we walked the front office and the adjoining offices and sections just to kind of talk about what needs to happen at Redwood. And just to give you an idea, Redwood has you know this, we've talked about this, they have the most foot traffic in the entire district, and yet they have the tiniest office space that's conceivably known to man. So we looked at all these little sectioned off pieces at Redwood, and we talked about expanding, and Barry had a great idea of moving the front office down to where the library is, because once the bus loop goes there, that will actually be
Right there.
aligned with the crosswalk. You could see who's coming in and out. And so I thought that was brilliant. And so we talked about moving the front office down that area, and then keeping those smaller sectioned off places to be some of the offices for the psych and the counselor, and then making sure that the principal had a larger office than what she has now. So I think with all the information they gave Kevin and Jim yesterday, that they're going to be able to design something that is incredibly efficient for that site, given, again, the foot traffic that they realize every year and the space. And then Lundy is going to move the library into one of the classrooms. So the library will have a bigger space, which is great, because they just ordered like 8,000 books to update the library. So Kelly was very happy. So it was a good meeting. It's very exciting. I
Yeah.
can't wait to come back and look.
And we're okay with, I mean, we were short on space before, so if the library's going into a classroom,
We're holding a portable, so the portable that we're currently using, the resource teacher uses, we were gonna remove that, and we're just gonna keep it there until
in
construction's
case.
completely done. It's in decent shape, it's a space.
Right, because folks are probably scratching their head because we keep saying, we've got declining enrollment, so why are we, but they have forgotten that we had all those old portables out that were removed, and then we have to accommodate, so this year we'll be able to be okay with the TK and the new.
We'll talk about that when
Yeah, I
we
was
get
gonna
to
say,
the
because how are we?
UPK plan.
Okay, well, let's
we-
talk about
we-
that, let's just making sure that, obviously, that'll help when this is done
Mhm.
as well, but this year it's gonna be a little squeaky, yeah,
This
almost.
year is not the issue.
okay, it's the next, yeah, but anyway.
Superintendent Aldridge and I have had a walking tour today. It'll be okay.
Yeah, because this whole, the second phase project is estimated to be done August of '23, or not August, or no, what was it? What was your date of completion?
Well, the
Or we
main
could-
contract is gonna get done at the end of this year.
Right,
But the bus loop, which was an alternate, is scheduled to get done in August of '23.
okay, gotcha,
So,
in your head, okay.
Yeah,
it's just
so we
making-
kind of broke up the schedule and finessed it, because this portion doesn't need to be extended that far out. So,
Great, any questions for Mr. Almeida?
Took a stroll through there yesterday, and it looks like you're making good progress. And it looks like
Yeah.
it ought to really start making some show in the next couple of weeks.
yeah, once the lumber comes, you'll start seeing, recognizable things, you know?
Well, exciting because that footprint is huge. Like, I didn't realize how big that facility was going to be until we stood out and looked at it to realize that it's big.
Right, and to
Yeah.
have all
Well,
of,
it kind of shrinks
yeah.
and grows your perception.
right,
Right now, without the walls, it looks huge, and then when the walls go up, you're gonna say, well, maybe it's not as big as I thought, and it shrinks and grows. Or at least the perception does until things get settled and the drywall's up.
so all that concrete was poured in one,
Yeah, I was
and it wasn't too
surprised.
hot,
Yeah,
because it
that
was pretty hot yesterday, but the wind was probably cooling it down a little
It was
bit.
amazing. They did the whole thing yesterday.
Wow.
Yeah, that was a pretty good stint, yeah.
And then the height of that new section is gonna be the same height as the roof line of the same, of
The current building.
the current
Yes.
building, so
Yeah,
it's not
yeah.
gonna
For all
stand any
intents and
taller.
purposes, yeah,
Yep, perfect.
yeah.
At some
Alright.
point before school starts in August, take a walk out there. It's incredibly exciting to see our bond dollars hard at work.
Yeah.
So thank you to the community for allowing that to happen. This is a
Yeah.
big deal. This is a big deal for our kids.
Yeah.
For sure.
And truly, it could not have happened at a better time. With TK expanding and universal preschool, this is going to really go far in our community.
Right, well, forward vision, there you go, there's another
Yeah.
example. Right before we really need it, we've already had made the plan in 20, and we really need it now.
Mhm.
So thank you.
And I have to say this, bless you for giving me all the credit, but it's not true. There is a whole team with all of
Yes.
us, and it's really a conglomeration of all of us coming together and pulling at each other's hair and just saying, no, that's not gonna work, or this is gonna work. So we are incredibly fortunate in Fort Bragg Unified to have a group of people who work together really quite well and are able to poke each other in the right direction to get these things done. So thank you to you, the board, for allowing us to do some of these, making some of these hard decisions and doing some of these hard tasks. And thank you to the administrators for keeping us focused, so.
Yeah. Thank you.
All righty, any questions, or?
I have a question that's a little unrelated, but I don't think it's you. The shade structures.
God bless you. So let me just start off by saying, we went down the rabbit hole with the shade structures because when we learned about the shade structures, it was sold to us as we're DSA pre-approved, this is quick and easy. Remember, we went through
Yeah.
this time last
Yeah.
year? I really expected these shade structures to be up and running by August. And then when it didn't happen, I said, oh, December. And then when it didn't happen, I said February break. And then it was spring break. And so Don can probably speak to this a little bit more. I've been incredibly frustrated with the shade structures. We had a little hiccup with DSA and Redwood being ADA compliant. They are all through DSA. They've all been approved. And now we, Fort Bragg Unified, have to do some of the work for the shade structure. If you could describe some of the things that need to get done before the contractor can actually come out and help erect the shade
Yeah.
structures?
Well, it's pre-approved, the design, and it's actually erected by the contractor or the company that builds it. And they're kind of behind schedule now, which pushed the schedule itself. And then there are aspects of the project that they don't do that we either have to do in-house or have another contractor do. And I've been kind of tangential on this one, but, like the ADA improvements for this campus, the improvements that are being done on behalf of getting this current project going would suffice. But they don't believe it until it's there. So there was some talking into and some finessing to show, well, it will be ADA compliant, but we're kind of doing concurrently with this project. I think the conversations go. But the other sites had some, change of signing for parking. I don't know the specifics of these ones, but, it just kind of tail wagging the dog kind of things they make you do. And I think Barry is going to handle some of them in-house. And then just like any other DSA project, you have to have welding inspecting. You have to have fabrication inspectors. You have a DSA inspector, which it's all nickel and diming you to death,
So-
But this is just par for our DSA work,
So
No.
they're coming along. They haven't stopped. It's been incredibly frustrating because we had hoped that they would be up and running for the start of school. So just so you know, the slab work for the redwood shade structure, and I don't know if slab work is the base of where
the foundation work,
the
yeah.
redwood shade structure is going to be is completed. The contractor for the shade structures did come out to the high school, and you can see in front of the student union a bunch of bright pink arrows and spray paint on the concrete of where that work is going to be done, and the trees have been removed because they're going. Anyway, so that's ready. So there has been some preliminary work done. We are still hoping like heck they'll be in before August. I'm going to tell you not to count on it. I think that if we can get them in by Christmas, we'll be in good shape. They're still moving along. Barry is working furiously to get the little jobs that need to be done prior to the contractor coming in to have them built. So that's what he's doing now. We, at one point, they had called us and told us that it increased by almost 65%. The good news for Barry and Wendy is they weren't in the office that day, so that poor representative had to talk to me, and I just about lost my cookies. So that poor gentleman, who is very happy never to talk to me again, went back and spoke with the contractor and actually got that down from 65% to, I think, to 25, something to that.
Oh, nice. I didn't hear about that conversation.
Yeah, no.
That's a good one.
I think he did that. Please don't make me talk to that horrible woman again. If we could just bring this down. So
Sometimes that works.
he was a very kind person. So long story short, we've had some hiccups with this. We are still moving forward with this. We're doing our absolute best to move this along as quickly as possible, but there are just things out of our control, and it's frustrating. So thank you for bringing up the shade structures, because they've kind of turned into the new curse word in the district office. We are moving. We are not giving up on it. They will be there someday, just not today. So
Right.
they're coming.
Okay.
Great.
So we're a little bit out of budget on that one, but we don't really know. Still more to come. So the next item, I don't think there are any other
No, I think I'll
questions for
stick
you.
around and listen to the kindergarten
Yes,
pre-K.
perfect. So before we
I'll
get to
bug out
go,
after
yeah, for sure. So we do have 2 more items in report on the agenda, which is the California School Employees Association report. I'm not sure if we have any members or an oral report or a written report.
So there's no report from CSEA or FBDTA.
Okay, but I will just chime in at this moment just to thank them. I mean, our staff, they're wonderful. They care. Our educators and all of our staff, like you said, work really well together. And I can't thank them enough and hope they have a restful summer. So we will move on to, on the agenda, we have approval of agenda consent items, but I've reviewed and I don't see anything. So I think,
don't think there was anything. I
I'll
think
just
it was a
put,
placeholder in case, and it
just in
didn't end up
case,
being
yeah.
anything.
So I didn't see any cover sheets or reports, so we have none to approve. So we'll make sure that's noted in the minutes. And then we come to our item 10, board action items, and the first is the FBUSD Universal Pre-K Plan.
and we're actually not gonna take action on it tonight. I just need to present it to all of you,
Okay.
which is good, because we ran into a little snafu, and we're gonna get to that in a minute.
Yeah.
And
So,
it's, now let's talk about point of order for a second. It doesn't need to be approved, it needs to be presented, but we put it on action, so the board, should they take action on it since it's on action?
Well, we could
Table it.
table
We
it.
can
I don't know when
table
it needs to be, does it have to be approved by us or just presented
It
as a
has to be
public?
It just has to be
presented.
presented.
Has to be
So it
presented.
should have really been on reports, but it,
yeah,
okay, we should have maybe moved that, had we known before the agenda approval, but, we can,
I mean, I don't think it matters if they vote on it, does
I
it?
don't think it does. I
so
think,
we could,
I would
Yeah.
say because it's on the action, on the action agenda, let's just take action to, I know Carol and I are quite certain that you don't have to take action on this. We simply have to present it to you. But at the time the agenda was made, we were under,
This-
we believed that it had to be, board action.
okay.
there's a lot of things that changed in the course of this. which we'll
One
get
week.
to. It's so
You know, like
fun.
today.
Yeah, like as of this morning. So, they passed Assembly Bill 167. And when they, I'm not gonna read the slide to you, but basically our legislature was looking at our 4-year-olds and wanting to expand programming for 4-year-olds. Recognizing that our families struggle with childcare expenses, knowing that we get better outcomes for kids if we can get them into transitional kindergarten. And they wanted to get all of them in there, all of our 4-year-olds, by year 25, 26, regardless of zip code, income, all of that. Immigration, all of that. So that's that first introductory slide for you, in a nutshell. And the why, which I just spoke to. The reason why they're doing it is we know that if we give them that early foundation, we're gonna get better outcomes for them, K through 12. And actually for the kids that do get into TK, we're gonna identify less students on an IEP, and we're gonna see less retention. So we're gonna get better outcomes in their literacy, their math, their social emotional, executive functioning, and we're gonna not hold them back and not put them on IEPs. Good stuff. Here we go. That's the why. So I was looking at, you can't see the little citation, it's an early start, I think it's early start, but according to the research, 90% of a child's brain is developed by age 5. So we really want to get our TKers in there and start working with them. And that's the why. Okay, see, now we're gonna get into this morning. Here we go. So as we know, while we're under construction, Redwood Elementary is limited for capacity, right? So we were looking at a 3-hour program, 1 a.m., 1 p.m., so we'd have one classroom. Well, we've been working with the county office, so we joined the county office and all the other districts, and that's in your board packet, and they put together the countywide plan. Both Becky and I have been working with them all year. We've had many conversations around instructional minutes. This morning, Mrs. Erickson discovered in a Q&A from the California Department of Education that there was a requirement of 36,000 instructional minutes. I'm quoting that right, Becky? 36,000 minutes. Well, when you divide that by 180 school days, as Becky and I discussed this morning, that's 200 minutes a day, not 180 minutes a day. So the bell schedule that we had in place and the county office had signed off on and it was all good, is now being adjusted. I have talked to Mrs. Erickson probably 3 times today. She is working with the teachers right now, so we're gonna have an amended schedule for you. One of the options that she's looking at is she believes she has 2 classrooms and can run 2 a.m. sessions.
So here's the pickle with this.
yeah.
We were planning to do 180-minute school days so that we could meet the needs of our facilities. We simply
Yeah.
don't have the classroom space. So this is what this does. By moving to a 200-minute day, which is fine, we love having our kids more. We also were told that, so we're moving to a 200-minute day, so that's 3 hours and 20 minutes. Lunch no longer counts as part of the instructional minutes. In the past, lunch could count as the instructional minutes if the teacher were present. And in our TK classroom, the kids are tiny. Think about a 4-year-old on the Redwood tables in the cafeteria. They can't even open their milk. So it made sense to us that we were going to use that lunchtime to teach kids how to eat, how to sit at the table, how to set the table, how to open your milk, talk about manners, talk about your napkin on your lap, these little things. And so, but we were told in March that lunch could not count as instructional minutes because I presented you a bell schedule at one point and said, nope, scratch that, because that An hour before that meeting, we found out that we couldn't do lunch. And we had emails from CDE that said we could. So Aaron Carter, bless his soul, went back to CDE and said, you sent me this email. And they said, well, that email was wrong. So we had to change that. So literally today, Lundy called me and she said, Becky, I found this. In all of the meetings that Carol and I have had with the county, not one time was the 36,000 minutes ever mentioned. So, be that as it may, we are going to persevere and make this fabulous. Our teachers are wonderful and they're going to do a great job. So, we are going to advocate still that we do a 3-hour and 50-minute day. That's going to give us 3 hours and 20 minutes, which is 200 minutes times 180 gives us the 36,000 minutes that we need. Next, the lunch will be outside of that. So, we're not including it in our instructional minutes, and that 30-minute lunchtime will still happen more than likely in the classroom. We are looking at two start times because we want to talk with the teachers to figure out what's best for our TKers. We're looking pretty heavily at starting TK at 8:10 in the morning and ending at noon. And that way the kids are in and out before the big glob of mass rush comes or the mass exodus. And even on early release days, our TKers won't get kind of run over in the traffic jam. So that's what we're looking at right now. Ms. Erickson's going to be talking with the teachers to see if there's a different start time that may be more conducive. Is it 8:20 starting with everybody else and going until 12:10? Is it 8:30 after everybody's on campus and going to 12:20 and you're still out a couple of minutes early? So they're looking at those nuances. Because of the added additional time, it doesn't make sense at this point to have an AM and a PM shift. We could run an AM shift from 8:10 to noon, but the PM shift would have to be 10:40 to 2:30. We've got an overlap of an hour and 20 minutes. I called my connections at Lake County Office of Ed. I know you're shocked, but I called them, and they had a couple of ideas. They said that we could do lunch on different sides of each other, which means that if we had the 10:40 kids come in, they could come in at 10:40, and we could have our AM kids do their 20-minute recess at that time so that the classroom is free. And then when they're coming in from recess, then they could go to lunch so that it's still free, and then they could switch, and then the other kids could go to lunch and do their 20-minute recess. I mean, there are things we can do. I think that's running it too tight. We do have classrooms set up for next year. We have 2 TK classrooms. We'll more than likely have 2 TK groups. So at this point, to get us through next year, we're looking at 2 AM sessions. The PM session doesn't make much sense at this point because it's not really PM. It's still in the morning. And I'm not sure what family is really going to like a 10:40 to 2:30 school day for their kiddo. I don't think that's going to be well received. So we're going to be working with the teachers. We're probably going to have 2 AM sessions. I am very confident that before we even hit the following year, something's going to change again because the massive facility issues right now that are happening throughout the state because of the TK expansion is profound. And the difficulty is the TK dollars that are available for facilities are not available for portables. So bigger districts that are trying to just get space in quickly, everyone is really struggling with this. So I anticipate that by the time we get to this time next year, there will be some shift. I wouldn't be surprised if all of a sudden lunch is okay and can be part of the instructional minutes. The first thing we asked today was, is there a waiver? Because we were worried about the facilities. I'm still worried about the facilities. I think if our kindergarten numbers hold where they're at and our TK numbers hold where we're at, we're going to be okay at Redwood. Superintendent Aldridge and I walked the site today with Principal Erickson to talk about some what-if plans if things exploded and we had 100 families move in and what that means to us. So we have some things in the works. I am confident that the issues will be mitigated and no one will even know that we panicked on this lovely day of June 23rd. So the panic is minimal. Where we are going to have to invest some time is how we proceed in August of 2023. Because at that point, TK is going to be expanded again, and you have to turn 5 by April 2nd. It goes out 2 more months. That one's gonna be the tricky one, because that opens up a lot more kiddos. So right now, we're only expanding till February, but next you're gonna be expanding till April. So that's gonna be a little bit of a trickier time. Our commitment to you is that by the time you have your special meeting on July 23rd, Superintendent Aldridge will be able to give you a plan for TK that we will be able to send to parents individually. Right now, we only have 22 kids enrolled in TK, so it's not like we have to go hit a huge expanse. But I anticipate that with an announcement of a new time schedule for TK, I anticipate that you're going to get more kids. So we will deal with those challenges as they arise. I'm confident that between Principal Erickson and Superintendent Aldridge, we'll absolutely be able to have a plan. The kids will have classrooms. We will feed them. We will have staff, and life will move forward with happy rainbows and unicorns at Redwood Elementary. So that's the hiccup.
So we don't have to have TK and a case combo classes or anything like that to
We're not
accommodate.
looking at that. That's
Yeah,
not
I
even
mean,
one
that's
of our
not a goal.
options
Well,
right
yeah,
now.
exactly. I don't think that's a
Because,
good.
and the reason we're not looking at that, great question, by the way. The reason we're not looking at that is because the difference between a soon-to-be 5-year-old and a soon-to-be 6-year-old is profound.
Right.
It is different than a soon-to-be 13-year-old and a soon-to-be 14-year-old. Completely different, biologically completely different. So we're not even entertaining the thought of a TKK combo.
Right, I just don't know if every district's in a position where they might have to do that because there's a space
There are many
limitation.
districts who are doing that.
So that's, we're blessed, I guess, we don't have to do that
But
at
the
this point.
difficulty is that the adult to student ratio still must be maintained, even if you have a combo class. So that's the other pickle. By having 2 a.m. sessions, we had planned to share the 2 aides. So if we have 2 a.m. sessions, we may have to hire 2 more aides if both those classes exceed 20, because we have contract language that we've agreed to with FBDTA, and it's not their fault. We were forward thinking. We are going to adopt the staffing ratio that is going to be the final staffing ratio when this whole thing begins in 2025. So if we have a class of greater than 20, the staffing ratio is 1 adult for every 8 children. And if we just have 20, then it's 1 adult for every 10 children. So we've adopted both, and we have to accommodate based on the size. So what will happen is we'll look at our final numbers for TK. If we have 38 kids in TK, we'll have 2 classes of 19, and we'll have a teacher and a teacher and an aide and an aide, we'll be fine. If it comes out that we have 45 kids who've enrolled in TK, then we'll have a class of 23, a class of 22, and we'll have to have a teacher and 2 aides and a teacher and 2 aides. So all this is going to happen in August. Should be incredibly exciting to see where we land. But for sure, on August 11th, you're going to know exactly where TK is going.
So is that the end of the
Nope,
report?
there's
Because
a couple more
it, no
pieces.
signal, it
No
signaled
signal.
out.
We'll
because
just
it
breeze
was
through. It
asleep.
won't take me long because Becky's got most of it. We are required by the California Department of Education to present this plan to you before June 30th. So we'll just steam right through. Becky's already talked about the ages. So you can see how we're expanding from 2022, next school year, all the way into 2025, 26, and the different birthdays. She's discussed that. If you have any questions, we'll go over to the curriculum. We are actually using Benchmark Ready to Advance, which Benchmark is a board-adopted curriculum, K through 5, right? We're using that with our TK population for literacy and language development. And Everyday Math, which is a board-adopted, K through 5, we're using that in TK.
And we also, remember, we purchased a lot of the materials for Learning Without Tears.
Yeah. And Angie gave me that information. So Angie Daniels, one of our TK teachers. So support for multilingual learners, including home language development and strategies for a bilingual classroom. These classrooms will be play-based, so they'll be developmentally appropriate for our littles. And we'll be serving children with disabilities in inclusive settings. And we'll be using things like Universal Design for Learning. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but it's allowing every child to access and demonstrate their learning in different modalities. Like, for instance, for me, I like writing papers. Becky, not so much. So I would write a paper. She might do a visual presentation with some mathematical equations in there. But we're doing that with our kids. So there we go, we got that. Becky's talked about staffing ratios. Diana, did you have a question?
I just
about
had a quick question. So learning without tears, is it tiers or tiers?
Tears.
Crying.
Crying tears,
yes.
okay,
Tears.
okay, I wasn't sure, because
So
that's a
in the-
kind of a different, social emotional learning, not
So
in.
In the next year, what CDE and the county office are expecting is we're gonna be looking at evidence-based, developmentally appropriate curriculum in our TK classrooms. And we've already started down that road with our team, which is why we have Learning Without Tears
Great,
coming in.
Thank you.
Okay, I don't have to go through that because Becky's already talked to you about numbers, so you can skip that slide. We were talking about lunch. Mrs. Erickson helped me with this slide, so I revised it based on her. She says, well, since I'm looking at doing 2 a.m. programs, they'll both get lunch, and breakfast or a snack will also be served. So there you go. Family style in room 21. With little ones
And there'll be
learning.
there will be 2 meals served. They'll have
Yes.
breakfast in the classroom and they will get their lunch.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, transportation. So we have to provide transportation to our transitional kindergarten because it's part and parcel of kindergarten. They don't see it separate. So whatever we do for kinder and transportation, we do for transitional kinder. Meaning if we are doing in-town transportation for our other students, we'll be providing it for transitional kindergarten as well. And putting on an additional bus run at 12:30.
And this was something that we learned this week
Yes,
as
so
well.
that's different than what we
That's-
were
yeah.
informed,
No,
just thinking,
it's been, I
Super
can't
fun.
tell
They
you
have to
how
sit
many
at the-
times this week that Carol and I would talk, and I just had my hand on my forehead because there were things that we just keep learning at the last minute. And we really were trying to be ahead of this. Like, we started this conversation in October preparing for this because we wanted to be on the ball. And every time we turn around, there's something new with it. It's been frustrating. However, we are going to persevere. It's going to be a lovely program. The kids are going to be great.
We've been working with our team at Redwood. We've been meeting with the county office. We've been reaching out to CDE. It's been quite the process. California Department of Education sometimes can be as clear as mud. This is an instance. They're building it, they're flying the plane while they're building it, is essentially. Okay, so we've hit transportation. So now the county has done a county-wide plan and they're supporting us in implementation. So they have already proposed that they're gonna do 6 meetings for all school leaders in the county that wanna participate, 3 meetings for our teachers, 4 meetings for early learning centers, and 1 meeting for all collaborators. We will be collaborating with Early Start and different agencies that support our kids.
And will those be some professional development meetings or?
Yes.
just- Okay.
Yes, we will be rolling out professional development as we go. And
Great.
that's the conversation we've been having with Aaron Carter
Mhm.
over at the county office.
Great.
And I believe that is it. I think if you click on the last one, and away we go. So we'll be back with the hours soon.
Okay,
But yeah, we're gonna start serving more kids.
exciting. So does anyone
Which
have
is
any
exciting.
clarifying questions for Carolyn? Well, thank you so much for,
Yeah.
as Travis says, what does he say? Just keep on keeping on and just keep adjusting, right? Keep adjusting, like Clay. So it looks like we have before us a board action item, and I guess we can approve the plan, and we will see a bell schedule July 23rd.
Yes.
So we could just, may I have a motion to approve without the bell schedule? I mean, it might be the easiest way, because the other,
oh.
yeah, sorry.
Okay, I'll move to approve the 10.1 FBUSD Universal Pre-K Plan with the bell schedule to follow.
And a second?
I'll second.
And a second. And we will need a staff member to take roll.
Trustee
have-
Schneider,
Yes.
Trustee Mattson,
Yes.
President Paoli,
Yes.
Trustee Makala,
Yes.
and Trustee Babcock.
Yes.
We have a 5-0 vote. Thank you. So moved. And 10.2 is Education Protection Account Resolution 2213, which is routine, and we do this every year, but we will have
Right, and normally I give you
the number.
the numbers,
Yeah.
yeah. So I pulled it up here. I didn't realize it was on here. I would have put something together. But part of the local control funding formula, there are different pieces that became part of what that is. And this was was this existing? It was about the same time. So of our LCFF funding, about $1.5 million comes from this education protection account, which is the state's incremental increase in property tax collections every year. And they're required to go to education, and we are required to use them for We are not allowed to use them for administrative salaries. We always allocate that money about evenly between the 3 schools to offset the general unrestricted dollars in salaries and benefits for teaching staff. So as we have done before, and that's what's in the budget for next year, is that, and so that's what the resolution is basically stating, that we have complied with the intent of that legislation.
Okay, so since we see this every year, I won't have us read this out loud. It's a little lengthy and it has a lot of boilerplate in it, but may I have a motion?
I move we approve Resolution 22-13, the Education Protection Account.
In a second?
I'll second.
Okay, and roll call?
Trustee Babcock,
Yes.
Trustee Makala,
Yes.
President Paoli,
Yes.
Trustee Mattson,
Yes.
Trustee Schneider.
Yes.
Okay, so moved. Thank you. And we'll move on to the annual budget for 2022-23. And while Wendy is pulling it up, will you put anything up on the
I
screen?
can put it up there. Would you
I
like
don't know
me
if we need to.
Sure.
But
Got
anyone that
pretty
needs to,
charts.
anyone that needs to exit could exit now, as she's pulling up the very lengthy document. This would be a nice time to end your day. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Carolyn.
Thank you.
Sure. So you saw most of this last week. There were a few little updates in the numbers that changed minimally. Nothing significant, not even really kind of worth mentioning. These first 2 charts are kind of a breakdown, a visual breakdown of our general fund revenues. You can see the LCFF sources and the federal revenues and state revenues and local revenues. Federal net revenues are much larger than they generally are. I don't know if you noticed that from prior year's graphs, and that's due in large part to the COVID relief funds. So in coming years, you'll see that federal revenue pie probably shrink quite a bit. And then moving on, the next one shows a breakdown of our expenditures. You can see our certificated non-management, classified non-management, and employee benefits are far and away the largest pieces of that pie. And then our services and operating. Another one that's considerably larger than usual is the capital outlay. And again, that's due to the coronavirus relief monies, the things we're putting into the windows and the shade structures, and some of the grants we have for other things that are going, actually considered capital outlay, which is anything over $15,000 that we have to keep track of. And then moving on to the next one, this shows the function. It breaks it down a little bit farther into the weeds of exactly where it's going. So you can see, again, almost 52% is spent on direct instruction. Let's see, the next largest one is plant services, and other instruction-related costs are 13. Pupil services, that's generally counseling and those kinds of things. General administration is about 5.5%, and so that just gives you a little visual picture of where the money comes from and where it goes. And then what follows that is the actual official form from SACS that goes to the state. And then I also have 2 other different versions of the same numbers that some of them are easier to read than others. Some of them include the multi-year and some of them don't. So I don't know if you have any more questions from before that. This also contains the criteria and standards that we have to adhere to, and wherever there's a not met, there's an explanation in the body of it, of the criteria and standards. See, move on a little farther. So I don't know, like I said, you've seen most of this, so I don't know if you had any more questions or additional questions about any of the amounts.
Will anything happen in the next 7 days that will surprise or change your numbers, or you just have to go with what you have today?
My gut says that there's probably 90% chance we'll have to do a 45-day revise.
Okay, so
I mean,
it's-
because the legislature and the governor are,
yeah, head to head.
and we're not getting, usually by this time, we've gotten some kind of, well, it looks like it's gonna kind of move there, it looks, and we are hearing nothing.
Silence.
So, yeah, it's been a little bizarre this year with the lack of even anything leaking out from anybody. I mean, usually some source has, talked to somebody somewhere that, thinks that this, even if it's anonymous, they throw it out there. Nothing, complete crickets. So my guess is that we're gonna have to do a 45-day revise, which it's not the end of the world. It's a little bit of a nuisance, but we'll do it. And if anything, again, I'm still anticipating that it might look a little better than what this does. But with what was in the May revise, that made us feel a lot more comfortable about where we stand and,
Right.
looking at the next 3 years.
Right, and then it looks like you're pretty conservative with the declining enrollment, so it's not like we're over,
Yeah,
I mean, we
and
might be
There is that
s-
sort of
huge drop in
couple
24,
different
25.
variations of the rolling 3-year average, so that's why we're not falling off the cliff with the funding on our ADA right now. It's gonna take a couple of years out, and if you look at the 3rd year, you can see it's really starting to creep in there. We're getting down into the
1,500.
1500s
Mhm.
On the funded ADA, like 15, well, our actual is 1512, but I think we'll be funded on about 1530
Okay.
because of that rolling average.
What's
Yeah.
our reserve slated for next year?
The board reserves,
Mhm.
I think there's 2.9 million in Fund 17. And that's slightly over the 9%.
Wonderful.
Yes.
Okay. Any
Yes.
other questions?
Because
for-
there is, again, everybody is kind of grumbling about the possibility of a recession. And if that happens, then those out years are going to be a little gloomier than they are here. But we are in a good position to weather that.
We have no comment,
Perfect.
public comment on,
This agenda item?
Yes.
Okay. And then my last question, it's been a little bit, but I think the reporting software has been the same for the state, but you had gotten a new
So they
Escape or
migrated,
something?
no. They
No.
migrated the SAC system to an online web-based system.
Okay.
It's got some glitches still. It wasn't the smoothest rollout. It wasn't the worst, but it wasn't the smoothest. So there was a little bit of struggling with making that work. And just really figuring out navigating it. It really doesn't function that much differently. Once I got in there, I realized, okay, this is not as earth-shattering as I was kind of expecting it to be. There are a couple little things, like I still have to figure out how to send it to the county office because you have to go through
It's virtual
these
now.
steps,
But our reporting looks the same, so, but you still are.
It looks pretty much
you're
the same. You can see the fonts are slightly different
Mhm.
than they were. The layout is a tad different, but it's essentially the same reporting that you had before. What's really fun is the unaudited actuals for September go back to the old legacy system that's a desktop system. And then hopefully they'll be able to roll the numbers they need to roll into the new system
virtual,
without
yeah.
any glitches.
That's
So
what I was just wondering, when that's gonna meet up.
yeah, so it'll be for first interim, everything should pull in, and we'll see how well that happens.
Yeah, okay, good. I'm glad you didn't have any. I was just wondering, sometimes that those different
No, it
software
wasn't,
don't work.
it had, the first page that comes up is all of the known issues with the software. So you read them and you say, okay, doesn't apply to me, doesn't apply to me. Okay, I'll work on that, and so you go through there. But, yeah, it seems to be okay. Like I said, the formatting is slightly different. Some of the fonts are a little different, but it's got pretty much the same information in there.
Okay. So, may I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve item 10.3 FBSD annual budget for 2022-23.
And a second?
I'll second.
Jerry, and roll call, please.
Trustee Mattson,
Yes.
Trustee Babcock,
Yes.
Trustee Schneider,
Yes.
Trustee Makala,
Yes.
President Paoli.
Yes, so passes 5-0. And the next item on the action item is 2022-23 Local Control and Accountability Plan.
Again, you saw this pretty much last week. It has been updated for more of the 22-23 budget items. I had more trouble with this new template than I did with the SACS template because it's not terribly clear when you're working in it whether you're doing 21-22 or 22-23 as far as where you're putting things, and it allows you to overwrite things that automatically calculate from someplace else anyway, and so I had to go back really carefully and make sure that all of the places that I entered carried where they're supposed to carry. So this shows how much we're spending in our supplemental concentration dollars and other dollars to meet the actions that we've put in here. The actions didn't change much, and we talked about that last week. Some of the outcomes need to be updated, and I don't know if they're going to have districts do a mid-year update on that or what, but there were so many places where the information wasn't available yet by the time we had to present this. So I think they're going to end up being a year behind on the data, which is unfortunate because it's not very helpful once it's that old, but it gives us an idea if some of the things we're doing are working.
And the template's going to change again for next year.
Yeah, next year's year 3, won't it be the same for next
They're
year?
changing, they're already talking about, have you heard this too?
They're always talking about it.
Yeah, no, the template's
You
getting
think
modified
they'd
a
let
little
you
bit.
finish out your cycle and then go
Yeah.
fresh,
Well, the
you know?
template changed this year a little bit
Right,
as well.
a
So
little
last year,
bit.
the template was different. So they continue changing the template.
Making it
Um,
better. You have to believe it. So this brings up a question, I don't know if it's this budget question, but I do remember seeing on the budget there was supplemental concentration reserve. So is that also?
So that's,
what you've
when you
earmarked
look
for
in there,
something?
it indicates how much money we expect to receive in supplemental concentration dollars and how much is presented in the LCAP. And the leftover is our reserve.
Mm.
And now they are actually requiring that you present that and monitor it and keep up with the increase in dollars that you have to use each year. Where before, they were sort of quasi-looking at it, but it wasn't officially required to be.
To be disclosed that way?
Right.
Right, because I was thinking, do we usually have reserve? You know, because usually
Well,
there's
we usually
carryover.
do,
There's
and
carryover.
we'll carryover, and
So
that's what,
that's- it
they're
is.
using the word reserve, we're using carryover, because it's technically unrestricted dollars, so it goes into the fund balance, but we pull it out as assigned fund balance, because it's supposed to be assigned for those purposes. It's not committed, it's not restricted, it's just assigned.
And they don't force you to spend it every year, but they probably like you to.
No, they want to make sure, right, they want to make sure that you are increasing what you're doing proportionately to the increase in the percentage of your supplemental concentration to your total LCFF dollars.
Right. So I was just wondering, because I was just, since I changed the verbiage, I was thinking, why do we have reserve? I thought we
Yeah,
spent
the
it all.
Reserve, to me, is not a correct word for
Well,
the
yeah.
carryover of the supplemental concentration dollars. That, to me, doesn't make sense, so that's why I just show it as assigned fund balance.
Okay. And then why is there a remainder? Is that because there's staffing changes in mid-year, or what would the remainder be for supplemental concentration? And
Just what we haven't put
Yeah,
into,
to
what we don't have a plan for yet.
even, okay.
And we're
but
not,
you're
you
earmarked.
know,
Not a
as
lot.
the next couple of years go, we're gonna be increasing the amount we're using, because we've been using some of our coronavirus relief money for
Mm.
some of the services and materials and things that we would normally have tried to use supplemental concentration for. So those.
Gotcha. That makes, okay, that's answering my question.
Yeah, so
Like,
some
we
of that
didn't
will
know.
go, and that's why you see in there are a lot of action items that have multiple funding things. They have, some of them have a
Okay.
combination of supplemental concentration and federal dollars, some of them just have federal dollars, and then some of them have changed from last year from federal dollars to supplemental concentration as we start, shifting things back to the general fund from those
Yeah,
restricted.
And there were some things like our instructional aid positions are funded out of supplemental concentration.
We still have some of those in coronavirus relief funds, some of the ones
Mhm.
that we added, and then we have other ones that we've already moved back over to supplemental concentration. The bilingual family liaisons have been moved into supplemental concentration now from
Right.
I forget which resource it was, one of the ESSER resources.
Then we'll.
So I bring that up because we've had open aid positions all year. So where we finally get one filled, then another one becomes vacant. So it's a constant shuffle depending on where that position exists in the budget. So there are many reasons why there's a remaining balance. It's not because we're trying to save it
No,
for something else.
Yeah.
Where I was just thinking, because I know there, you know, there's always a need, but then I also know that we're trying a few different things in the LCAP that'll sustain it for years out if we choose, once the coronavirus monies are gone. Because I know that was, like, where are we gonna get that
and
money?
We've been
to keep it
getting a little
going.
bit more in supplemental concentration because they increased the concentration part to 65% of the base based on the unduplicated percentage and the numbers from 50%. So we got a little bit of a bump there, which was nice with our enrollment going down. So we were
Right.
able to see a little additional funding from that
Okay.
part.
Did you have a
I was
question?
just gonna
Yeah.
maybe suggest we update the contact information on page 11, since it is a plan for next year.
So I asked about that, to be honest with you, but let's look at that quickly, because I had, I tried to put Joe's name in there, like, at the page 1, and because I prepared the plan, but let's, hold on, let me get.
And it
to
also
the-
includes the 21-22 updated numbers.
So it's old, it's last, yeah.
Right, and
right.
the,
want
It just seems like page 11 starts the 22-23 portion.
That's
It's
just-
not a big deal, I just,
I think it's the superintendent that was involved in the development
Has to be on it.
should be the one on it. I
'Cause
mean,
it's just
that,
a
to me,
summary plan.
I tried, trustee Schneider.
She
truly.
tried to get her name off
I had
this.
it- I had it ready. I had Joseph and everything.
okay,
We could, if you wanted,
it's
I
not a big deal.
Well, because
It's-
it'll come out next, we'll get to change it
Right.
when it's before us for our first
the
read.
phone number stays the same, and Joe's going to get all my
Oh,
email.
wonderful.
It's gonna loop
Just
in.
if someone has
loop in.
questions,
That's right. They
Once
can
the
still
year
email D
starts,
Walker. It's
yeah.
just going to go right
Okay.
to Jay
So it'll be
Eldridge.
linked. Okay, that's good to know. Okay, so if, I don't know if there's any other questions,
There's no public comment.
but otherwise, if there are no questions, may I have a motion?
I'll move to approve the 22-23 Local Control and Accountability Plan, or
And
LCAP.
it's
I'll second.
Mary, thank you, and roll call.
Trustee Makala,
Yes.
Trustee Mattson,
Yes.
Trustee Babcock,
Yes.
President Paoli,
Yes.
Trustee Schneider.
yes.
Very good, 5-0. So the next item is Board Policies and Administrative Regulation updated for July 1, 2022. So I believe this is just changing the coordinator and compliance officer.
So my name is specifically listed in these board policies. And so we can change it to Joseph Aldridge. You could also just change it to superintendent. I think the specificity is a little bit better, to be quite honest with you. So that's why this is before you, because they will be outdated effective July 1.
And there are probably other policies in our,
We tried to look for them.
well, and I would think most of them always say, or, you know,
Superintendent or designee.
exactly
There are very few
designee,
that
so.
actually have the name of the
So this-
superintendent in them, and I think because the Title IX coordinator has to be identified, you have to be able to find it within 2 clicks, I think, of when you go on the
Mhm.
website. So that way, if they go into the board policies, or if they actually go into the Title IX link, they can find it either way within 2
This was the
clicks.
only one, which is amazing, 'cause it's,
I think everything else is superintendent or
Yeah,
designee.
which
Designee.
makes sense.
Okay.
It's-
right, very good. Are there any questions? Otherwise, may I have a motion?
I'll move to approve the Board Policies and Administrative Regulations updates for July 1, 2022.
In a second.
I'll second.
Thank you, Mary, and roll call.
President Paoli,
Yes.
Trustee Babcock,
Yes.
Trustee Schneider,
Yes.
Trustee Mattson,
Yes.
Trustee Makala.
Yes.
5-0, so moved. And then the last item, so that I guess we did keep our 30 days going with a teleconferencing virtual meeting requirement pursuant to AB 361. And we did hear that it would be the beginning of 2023, that it's been extended. So I think they extended it, but they are still requiring us to do this every 30 days. So we just need a motion to continue this and a second.
So just point of order so that you're all clear, 30 days is not the same as a month to month, right?
Right?
So this will
30,
take you
yeah.
because June is a 30-day month.
Mm-hmm.
Today is June 23rd, so this will carry you until July 21. So you do have a special board meeting on July
23rd,
23rd.
which we'll
that if
have
you-
on it.
If
Yeah.
if you have to make that board meeting virtual for any reason, you're going to have a special meeting beforehand to approve this again because it exceeds that 30 days.
Or simultaneously, we can have one. Well, no, that probably wouldn't, that wouldn't
It's-
count.
it's
You'd have to
got-
do it on the
yeah.
21st. So
Mhm.
I'll
I think we're
put that,
having a special anyway. before
Right.
then.
probably have another special before.
Yeah.
So we'll put it on the earlier.
But you could have a special virtual meeting to pass it before the 21st. I'm just letting you know,
That's an option.
yes.
Yeah, thank you.
And the old Brown Act rules are always an
Still.
option too. If you're out of
Yes.
town, you can post it on your hotel door,
On the beach,
on the
whatever.
beach,
Right.
meeting here, you know, and allow anybody access who wanted it. And you also, I think you're also supposed to list the location of where people
Right,
are
On the
and-
agenda.
on the agenda.
And that's kind of how I mean, I'm looking at this more of like when you can't plan ahead. You know, that's something that we could still do, but because we can plan ahead because we're healthy. But like this truly, so we need to make sure, I mean, if we all go down before the 21st, we're good. But if we go down on the 22nd, we have to post it, but we don't want to invite people to our house if we're sick.
No.
Right.
Or we're flooded, you know, because it's a natural cause,
Right.
natural disaster as well. So, but we will, may have a motion, so we have this for the next 30 days.
I'll move to approve item 10.6 teleconferencing virtual meeting requirements pursuant to AB 361.
In a second.
I'll second.
Thank you, and roll call.
Trustee Mattson,
Yes.
Trustee Babcock,
Yes.
President Paoli,
Yes.
Trustee Makala,
Yes.
Trustee Schneider.
Yes.
Okay, so moved. And we do have on our agenda information and discussion, but we have nothing to discuss or provide information on for this agenda since we met last week. And so it moves us to our board reports. So I don't know if anyone's done anything wonderful in the last week.
I have not, but Connie Belli, principal at Alted, asked me to share that, take a look at the Fort Bragg Advocate because they're on the front page with their, oh gosh, I didn't write it down because I didn't have a pen. Is it the Art Alley project?
It's
Alley
by
Art?
Purity.
I mean, they're doing all those different alleys and they have their fence, it's behind Purity right back there on the alley. So, yep, their front page.
Very exciting.
Anyone else want to report?
I just wanted, I'm gonna do the Summer MIG alumni book chat, which I'm excited about. It's about 5 generations in the workplace. So we'll see what nuggets I can glean from that.
Well, that sounds exciting. You'll have to share your your tips. Anyone else have anything to report?
I just want to thank Becky for her service.
Thank you.
There's-
And thank you all. You've all been incredibly kind and gracious. It's been a great ride. Thank you.
I'm trying to think. It seems like something came into my. I know there was already volleyball going on. What was I thinking I was going to report out? It's terrible. I should have wrote it down. I'll remember when we close.
Yeah.
Some good stuff. In a week's time, something's occurred. Anyway, we are going to be in transition, and it's exciting and scary, and everything in my life is doing that right now. So I don't really know what the horizon's looking like, but it's stable. I do know that.
Well, and just to let you know, Superintendent Aldridge and myself, we toured all the campuses today, and we were able to meet with all the principals, and I got to learn more about Joe today that I didn't know about Joe. And every time he spoke or suggested something or talked about something, I had this overwhelming feeling of great ease to know that the school district is going to be in such good hands. He's incredibly knowledgeable, and when I look at the experience that he brings to the table, how fortunate we are in Fort Bragg that this next stage of growth is really going to be with someone who's quite well-versed and very experienced. He has much more experience and than I do, and so I want to talk to him more. So he's going to lead this district into a very good next stage. So it's exciting. It's exciting, and this is how we learn and grow. is through change. It constantly allows us to flex our muscles and to get bigger and better and to know more. So this is a good thing for Fort Bragg Unified, 100%.
And we'll land on 2 feet, for sure.
There
We
we go.
always do. So, with that, we go into advanced planning suggestions for future meetings, and I will just chime in that I do have a folder of non-agenda items, and I know we received a wealth of letters about the name change, and I know that it was probably first brought up in August of 2021, and we were kind of in the heat of the pandemic. And I know in early this year, 2022, but before we knew we were searching for a new superintendent, so in that first quarter, I know we had more come forth, and I know Scott had asked to have something on the agenda. So we will have a special meeting in the summertime to do kind of a transition meeting with the new superintendent and try to figure out, when we can have something, that type of a discussion, because there are, we're in it's never a good time to talk about priorities because there are so many. So we have to just decide on, as a board, what our priority is, because there are many. We can do anything, but we can't do everything. Just like the budget, it allows us to buy anything, but we can't buy everything. So we just have to prioritize. But I will have that for suggestions at the next agenda setting.
And I just want to thank everyone who did reach out to the board on the topic, and yes, look forward to talking about a process or something at a future meeting, and really hope that some sort of subcommittee is formed and we can really dig into this issue, give it the attention that it deserves.
Any housekeeping or reminders,
Can I
announcements?
bring up something on 12.2?
Yes. We're still there.
Okay. I'm getting a little nervous. My understanding was the 23rd was a workshop and for us to really talk about our transition, but all these specials
Now
are
we've got-
starting,
we've got
all these
2 more
things are
things.
adding to the plate. So, me and vision and planning, and I like to talk and get.
We went our 3 hours.
Yes, so if I really want to, I know everybody's Julys are very busy, but I would rather to have a workshop to work on the transition, and if we need to have a special to deal with all this other official business, just so we can give,
Give the attention it
yes,
needs.
give the attention to the topics, all of them,
Yeah.
that they need, especially if we're on a 3-hour time crunch on the 23rd.
Right.
Because here's my list.
That's for your workshop?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I'll send out a draft topics, or send me your draft topics so we can try to fold that in, because we will have agenda setting for the 23rd workshop. And then maybe I have everyone's summer schedules. We could maybe do, it'd be better to have what you're saying, a quick special on the business part of the district and keep the workshop 9 to noon, with none of the chunky business. 'Cause I know there was a few things that have been added. So we'll have enough time, because they're both special, so we only need 24 hours to post. So that's a good idea, because I was thinking the same thing, like, that's just taking away from our focus. So
I know most of them will probably be quick. I mean, it's just reporting out the time of TK, but if other things,
it makes it disjointed.
right.
Well,
And-
they deserve time too, so
Mhm.
separately.
And to be quite honest with you, TK can be handled in-house. Superintendent Aldridge is able to send out parent square messages. We're able to target the TK kids individually, so we could call those families individually. Even if we had to call all of them one by one.
Well, they could change that and say it has to be approved at a board meeting on you. They keep changing
Very
everything else.
possible.
So,
And
Right,
that's when I
but-
bequeath this role.
Right, because we did approve the plan. We just, if we needed to approve the bell schedule, that would be coming before us. But otherwise, the plan's been approved.
Well, and I had you approve the bell schedule back in April, I believe it was, April or May, and we did that on purpose because we would do that for any other site and we would do that for any other program. So it made sense at the time for us to look at that, and we thought we were doing the right thing. So we'll get through it. We have a plan for next year, and that's good for right now, and a lot will change between what's happening right now, 365 days from now. So I'm confident that it's going to be okay.
Okay. So I think that gives us to reminders and announcements, which I don't know if we have any last reminders or announcements other than we made it.
We made it, and I did send out a Parent Square message yesterday, so to the 2 people watching out there, you can get free COVID tests again, and I would just encourage folks to do that. They're expensive. It's $20 to $25 a box. If you can get them free, I would just encourage people to do that and have them on hand. Even if you don't think you're going to use them, you never know. So you can get those. I sent that out in a Parent Square message yesterday.
Do we have any idea what brand that it is? BioAccess?
I-
Because that one's the better of the,
I think it's the
orange box.
boxes.
It usually is.
Those
And,
are the ones that are free.
So those are reporting, it's just, I'd love to have a Bionex, but then the purple box is good, but I don't know much about the orange box.
The orange box is a lot like the purple box.
Okay, in the sense of, that it seems like there's more,
Room for
False
error.
negatives.
right,
Yeah.
right, because but the other one, you're touching the top of, it just seems like it's not ideal, but, yeah, I agree. You might need them, or someone might need them, you
And
can share.
also insurance will pay for them if you get your receipt and send them in.
Yeah.
To get reimbursed.
And we want to talk about the ones we have for August?
Yes, we do.
Okay, so we have a fort built out of boxes of over-the-counter tests to take home that we will be sending out some sort of notification to all of the families and staff for the return to school. So sometime
Okay.
in the beginning of August, those will be distributed, probably out of the DO for anybody who wants one before school
And
starts back
that's
again.
the purple box?
Those are the
Those are the
Binax.
Binax.
Oh, the blue box. the
Yes,
best-
I'm,
the
I'm,
best.
I'm hiding them from
Okay.
everybody until then.
Okay, those are,
Yeah.
And I assume for those going to summer school, those are available, should they need
Well, we
them.
have.
Well, we have testing available,
Mhm.
Okay.
We have regular testing. and
Yeah,
s- And
if
so
anybody needs it.
And Wendy and I talked about that because everyone wants to know, do we still have to test? What's next year going to look like? We just don't know
We don't
yet.
know yet.
OSHA has to make a determination. They talk to CDPH. CDPH then talks to CDE. They make their K-12 guidance, and then we get told what to do. So we are just planning right now to be prepared for testing should we need it. The good news is Wendy has done a fabulous job of keeping us stocked. So if we have to test all the athletes again in the fall, and we are running a full testing regimen, we have enough tests to test every athlete twice a week through December.
And are we still testing athletes now, twice a week, if there's?
We're not
there's-
testing.
There's no sports.
There's no
no.
practices? I mean,
No.
No?
So
No official practices?
no,
Correct.
it's open
Okay.
gym,
it's
but like
right.
very sparse.
And we have our new athletic director who will be attending the meetings to figure out what we're supposed to do. Football practice starts early. I think they can start as early as August 1. So we'll have to know a little bit more information by then. The good news is that's an outdoor practice, so we're not too concerned about it. But again, we have tests for kids to have that they can take home prior to the first day of school. So we're going to coordinate that. And then we will have some level of testing probably available. We'll have to see.
Yeah, it'll be available.
Okay, so,
Might be my window.
So let me just say that before we leave, just so people know. We have, for testing, we've been really good about saying just come in between the hours of 7:45 and 4:30 or 4:15. We're not going to do that next year. There's going to be like a testing window that you can test between 3 and 4 or 9 and 10 or something, or 8 and 9, because we're not going to have a full-time staff person in that position. So we're going to have to limit the testing times at the district office, but we'll make it at least 2 times so that we can try and get people into, meet people's schedules. So just know that it's not going to be an open season 8-hour window. We won't have the staffing for it.
And why are we still doing the testing?
Because I think that.
Well,
we're-
we still have employees who are not fully vaccinated, who test weekly, who are working for the summer.
And the employer is required to do that?
we
test?
still-
No, but we
well,
offer it.
Okay,
It's
that's
not
why
that
I'm
many of
asking,
them.
because
Okay,
I know
hold
other
on.
employers,
If they're required to test once a week still,
Right.
because we haven't been told, so which means we are required to provide it.
provide it, yes, but to do the test itself. That's my question.
Well, we want to do the test because we want to see the results.
Yeah.
We don't want somebody taking it home and saying, oh, I was negative,
And,
and, you know.
Mhm.
Well, I guess,
testing-
okay, because my point is using staff time, like at my business, if someone needs to test, we give them a test, they go do it, and they give us, come back 10 minutes, 15 minutes later and give us the results.
So we have the Binax box, so it's one little bottle for 40 tests, so we can't,
Got it.
Yeah,
so
distribute.
we have to do it, we have to hit the
Understood.
drops anyway.
Okay.
So,
I'm just trying to get away from
It's
being
not, it's
healthcare
not a huge
providers.
impact
and-
right now.
Okay.
It's really
Just
minimal.
minimal.
and
Do 3
can
to
I
4 a
just
day.
echo that every superintendent that Joe and I have spoken with all echo that sentiment that we need to move away from being healthcare providers.
Mhm.
It's not our role. So while Wendy and I went back and forth, do we order, do we not order? We have to be prepared for the fall. And I will say, in looking at other schools, we've never had a shortage of Binax tests. And when we had the prom happening and we required kids who were guests to get tested at their school, some kids said, our schools don't have any more tests. So they came down in their tuxedo or their dress, and we tested them here because we had enough to do that. So it makes more sense for us to be prepared, even if we don't have to provide it anymore, to have those Binax tests on hand with the little bottle, so that if there is a situation, we're prepared to answer that call. And I will say, I know testing the athletes twice a week was a pain in the hiney, and the coaches were wonderful champions, but we stopped a lot of outbreaks before they happened. I really believe that,
And again, I think testing's great. I'm just, again, using
Yep.
your staff
Agreed.
resources to do it.
100%.
Okay. So I don't think there are any more reminders or announcements, other than I'm thinking we might do the special business meeting maybe July 21. We'll just check in with the incoming superintendent, which is the Thursday before the Saturday workshop, to be able to use that. Then we'll be able to do our AB 361 deadline to meet and put those other items, the contract and maybe a closed session. Well, no, that'd be too late for that. Anyway, we'll figure it out, but that might be a way to deal with the business before the workshop.
And it may not be in as many things, but
Yeah.
sometimes we get a
Mhm.
lot loaded on a
Mm-hmm.
Right,
special, and then it becomes not a special.
right.
Okay, so we are at the end of our agenda, so may I have a motion to
Motion to
adjourn?
adjourn.
Jerry, and a second.
I'll second.
Thank you, Scott, and all in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you
Any
all.
no
Very
objections?
exciting.
7:46, we